Yeah, welcome back to Dumb Apple Farmer Talk. This DAFT episode is a continuation, actually the last in a series of sort of the life of an apple. So we've gone through everything from early bud, swelling on up through bloom, and then June drop was our last one where we talked about apples sort of singling out and the tree getting rid of unwanted children, as it were. And today we're kind of at the beginning of harvest. So this is the first variety. This is Lodi. It's the first variety we harvest here in Iowa. It comes right around 4th of July usually. Lodi is an interesting apple. And you can see that, so what's been happening is these Lodis, along with other apples, they bloomed end of April. And then there was a singling out, but a lot of cell division that went on. And then after cell division basically stops, the tree has laid down in the fruit all the cells it's going to have, and it just starts to swell them up. And Lodi's, this happens very, very quickly. And so these apples were all, I don't know, they were less than 2 inches for sure in diameter, just a week and a half ago, and now they're swelling up and really starting to make some fruit. So you can see here we've got 2 fruit left. That was probably a cluster of 4 or 5, and they'll hang there until they get ripe and fall off. And with Lodi's, that happens very, very quickly. This is hot weather here in Iowa. And so everything is kind of accelerated on the ripening stage. And we can see, if we look up here, this is one of the few apples that actually attracts Japanese beetles. And so if there's any kind of a problem in the apple, like this one looks like it had a split in there, could have been from frost or something, and Japanese beetles will attack that. Normally, by the time apples are ripe, Japanese beetles are not an issue. But Lodi's and some of the really early varieties, that is an issue on. But by and large, the crop looks really good. It's really clean. And we can start to see that these apples are turning from a bright green into this kind of a whitish green. And that's a sign that they're coming red, or they're coming ready. And eventually, this apple will turn yellow, by which time it is mush and absolutely miserable. Normally apples would go from green to a whitish, yellowish green to red and then fully ripe. But with Lodi's, they sort of stop at yellow and just turn to mush. So that's what's going on here. And the tree is also starting, it hasn't set a terminal bud yet, but the tree growth here, we're in the second week of July. So the tree growth here is going to start to slow. Another week or two, we'll probably set terminal buds, and we won't have a lot more growth. Well, we won't have any more growth after that. And so that's what we got this year. We grew from there to there, which is okay for trees this size. We don't want ridiculous growth. We don't really push trees hard here, and Lodi's in particular, since fire blight is a big concern, we just let them do their thing. And by and large, yeah, this is a pretty satisfactory growth, good clean looking leaves, and the crop looks good. And we'll start picking now, and whatever doesn't come off probably this weekend, we'll go in and pick them ourselves and sell them. So like I say, this Lodi is our first variety, and starting about the early part of August, we'll start to get into, so we kind of break apples down into 3 seasons. One is the early season apples, and that's most of August. And that would get us up to sort of galas. So some of the varieties we would be picking would be like Williams Pride, Pristine, Red Free. Some of these varieties aren't well known to people because early apples tend to be kind of on the tart side, and they don't store well. Then you get into the sort of mid-season apples, and those are really our bread and butter for most growers. This would be Galas, Honeycrisp, Song of September, Jonathan's, right on up into Jonagolds and varieties like that. So then we get into the late season apples, and late season apples, a lot of them are winter apples. They keep really well. Perfect example of that is Gold Rush, you know, pretty much the last apple that we grow. But included in this late season apples would be Mutsu, Fuji, Suncrisp. There's lots and lots of great apples that come off sort of pumpkin season, October-ish, and yeah, they tend to store better as well. So looking forward, you know, we're in early July now. We'll go a pretty solid month before we get into much in the way of serious apple picking, and then that'll kick off the season in pretty fine fiddle. It includes stuff like Ida Reds and things like that as well, but no, let me do that again. That's not right. Let me think about what all late season apples we have. Okay,